spirit of this revolution is not going away.
This is the Ron Paul Liberty Report with Ron Paul, Daniel McAdams, and Chris Rossini.
We are all ambassadors of the Ron Paul doctrine, and it's so simple. Just tell the truth.
An idea whose time has come cannot be stopped by any army or any government.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to the Liberty Report. With us today, we have Chris Rossini, our co-host. Chris, welcome to the program.
Great to be with you, Dr. Paul.
Very good. We have an important subject today. There's been some movement in the Middle East, in the Middle West, in the Middle South of America, who knows where. But things have changed. The signing of the treaty was supposed to occur tomorrow, have a fancy parade and all these things, but they moved it up. There are questions, why did they move it up, the signature on this proposal for the ultimate agreement to settle that war in the Middle East. But it is a serious problem, and some of the steps are positive, because at least they're supposed to be shooting a lot less and killing a lot less. And one of the issues, matter of fact, that has come up is Lebanon was supposed to be included in this, and this was one of the things that the Iranians wanted. But it looks like that war is still going on. So there are other things that are being discussed in the media. And there's two people, two groups debating it. Some say, well, a little bit helps. We want to move toward peace. But others are hysterical, and they're the ones who are very angry and said, you've sold out. You have to be meaner and nastier. And we can't stop now. But then we come up with our president, and the president all of a sudden sounds like, this could be bad. There could be an economic catastrophe. I had to prevent it from happening, and I wanted to get this signed as quickly as possible. And already, as we sit here, we have already seen that the ships have started moving. The oil is starting to move it, and into probably the millions and millions of barrels of oil. So that is good. There must have been some very strong motivations to start on this. But I suppose that this will be on out one way or the other. Hopefully there will be some benefits, but I am a skeptic, I guess, and I'm concerned that some of the benefits and some of the moves and some of the admissions won't hold today, and sometimes the military-industrial complex and the hawks in our government seem to win out, and yet right now, I think that what's going on, we can at least sense that there's a slightly different attitude with the president, and hopefully that is for real, and hopefully that will expand, and hopefully the hawks won't come in and, beat it up enough where if you don't agree with, to continue the war, that you're unpatriotic and you can't depend on the Constitution for this division. So there's a lot of questions raised, but a lot of people have died. And I've always said these wars end when they run out of money or run out of people. And right now, there is evidence that they have run out of certain things. They were running out of oil. They were running out of weapons. And this could be a pause, and everybody, reloads and rebuilds up their ammunition supplies. But we'll see, and we'll be, of course, talking about this and following it. But from my viewpoint, there's a lot of danger out there yet. Chris?
Yeah, Dr. Paul, and the president post-war is different than the president during the war and beforehand. He's now saying we run out of reserves in about 4 weeks, oil reserves. There are reserves all over the world, he says, and we would really run out, and there'd be a time where you wouldn't be able to get it. And during the war, we have all the time in the world, the president says. We could wait them out. He said many times, we don't need the Strait of Hormuz. And then my favorite, we're the ones that are blocking the Strait of Hormuz. So he was blocking the Strait of Hormuz so that we could all run out of oil, apparently. And now he's warning about economic catastrophe. And we have to remember that this was a war of choice. He started it. He did this. We didn't have any of these problems. And it really didn't have to go this far. As soon as that strait was closed, that was it. That was checkmate. And we even said it on the show that it's over, but the president's not going to stop. He's going to drag this out. And that's exactly what he did. He dragged it out to the point of when he's now using the words of economic catastrophe. All of this was unnecessary for America. It was nothing but cost, as usual. But my favorite now is how the president is talking after he has done all of this to us. And I want to quote him. He said, "Oil is flowing. Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. The world will be safe. The stock markets are roaring, jobs are at records, and prices are dropping. Our country is strong, safe, and respected like never before." And this is my favorite part. He says, "You're welcome!" Exclamation point. So that's what we get after all of this, a big "you're welcome," Dr. Paul.
Well, that sounds good. I mean, those comments by the president, I'm glad to hear that, because it sets the stage for them giving serious thought to my very, very complicated foreign policy. And that is, if things are doing so well, it's time to come home. Come home and enjoy it. Spread the message of liberty, and don't spread the message that we need more. We just need to rearm. And I think both sides are that way. They'd want a breather. They want to rearm and. The whole world needs more oil spread. Not that there isn't enough oil. It's just that the oil is in the wrong place. It's sitting in ships that are liable to be blown up under today's circumstances. But it sounds like a little common sense was thrown in here. This could be a real catastrophe. But overall, how do we get in there? Is it just a mistake by one person and one administration, or one accident that happens that causes wars to break out? No, I think especially conditions like this, I think it's the principle of interventionism. The top dog has to intervene to maintain their power and expand, and it's not static. They have to expand it, and that's why there's always nation building to build the empire, and we've been doing a lot of that, and that causes a lot of people to be very annoyed by this. But I think also the people who pay the bills, the American citizens, they're naive and they keep paying without complaining too much. But a lot of them are convinced this is for humanitarian reasons. And certainly in the Iraq War, that was all it was, humanitarianism. We had to go and stop this guy. They were ready to bomb Europe and bomb America. So the humanitarian instinct is there, and the danger is always used as an excuse to have an interventionist foreign policy, especially if the country is very wealthy, is strongest, and has the most weapons, and believe in intervention, believe they're doing, the work that has to be done, and that comes with the responsibility of wealth and a strong army. So that is what sets the stage for this, and yet it is one way that people end up doing a lot more than they should, because now, Chris, you already pointed out, what did he say before this? Now, what is the administration saying? It's quite a bit different, but has it really changed? And I think for this type of situation internationally gets ironed out, has to be with credibility, where you can say, well, this is the way it is, and these are our problems. But if it changes every minute, if it changes in the right direction, we have to cheer it on. But sometimes it's up and down and back and forth, and that's not just an accident. That is a consequence, and a predictable consequence of a system that is interventionism. And it's also a prediction that if the the aggressors, the one who wants to advance this type of foreign policy, if they have control of the reserve currency of the world, that means, the deficits aren't that critical. It adds up and is already adding up, and that's why the American people who pay the bills ultimately with higher prices, they no longer can afford things and afford food and all these things. So that is a sign that it's coming to an end. But I think it's a philosophy of economic intervention at home and militarism intervention overseas. The idea that you have a false currency and you pretend that you can print the money and everything will be okay. I think we're witnessing, the cracks in that system, and therefore we haven't yet seen the final solution to this. Yet you have to take any step possible if it's moving in the right direction. So any type of ceasefire, no matter what the predictions are, that's not going to last, and this and that, you still have to take it to give people, a breather. But I'm glad they're doing a little bit of talking. It's very upsetting that the hawks still get a lot of attention to make the people who aren't supporting this, you're unpatriotic. But in a way, in a backhanded way, the president has said some things that are indicated, that there's an economic catastrophe out there. And it came up pretty fast. But that is a sign the American people are and should wake up.
That's right, Dr. Paul. And yes, we have to stress, as we do our criticisms here, that peace is a win. That part is a win. We no longer have to watch innocents die. Threats of obliterating civilizations. Our country killed 150 schoolgirls over there. As long as that's stopping, we have to be happy. But now we have to also criticize, because we have gone full circle from Iran not making nuclear weapons to Iran not making nuclear weapons, and getting tons of money on top of it. Because for decades before this, the Iranian leaders have been saying we do not want nuclear weapons, and they just kept getting sanctioned and sanctioned by the U.S. The Ayatollah made a fatwa, a religious decree that is against Islam. Iran does not want a nuclear weapon. Well, the U.S. killed that Ayatollah. Before this started, the director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, said the intelligence community continues to assess Iran is not building a nuclear weapon. Tulsi is gone. This was going to happen no matter what anybody said and no matter what proof there was. They were going to bomb Iran, and that's exactly what they did. And Iran has proved that they don't need a nuclear weapon. Closing the Strait of Hormuz is their nuclear weapon. It imposed costs that the president is now admitting to, that we're going to run out of oil, and there's endless supply of missiles that they have. Doesn't matter their Navy, their Army, their Air Force, all the stories that they were telling us. They have a seemingly endless supply of missiles, and they control the strait. That's their nuclear weapon. They don't need to build one. And if they ever decide to build one, do they not have a case? They're being attacked for doing nothing. So we've gone full circle, and it was, again, nothing but costs for the American people.
Very good. During this process and this building up, and the various times over the many, many decades now, has been an alliance that sometimes you better be careful about mentioning it because it's not politically correct to. But there has been an alliance that has existed for, a little over 100 years. But it gathers strength by implying that maybe this alliance was developed and has a religious connotation a lot longer. And of course, what I'm talking about is the Zionism that is promoted and the adherence of the United States, generally speaking, and especially with this recent administration, to get involved in some of these wars that are going on, is the alliance between, United States as well as with Netanyahu and what he believes his foreign policy has to be. But there's a use of, religion on both sides because the religion of the fundamentalists in this country here, understand understand Zionism to be, commanded by the Creator, which is not something that I can accept because it doesn't coordinate with the history that we know about. So this is something that I think is very important, but it's something that's not known. But right now, what's going on today, at the starting of this war, there was a close alliance, and I suspect there'll be a continued close alliance, between the religious belief of a lot of Americans and also the beliefs which are crystallized in religion, that the Zionist movement will continue. But it is something, though, that people should consider to study and understand exactly how that came about, because it is a system that that you can be blamed for being a bad person if you say you have to look at that coalition because it has a religious connotation. But I think that is one of the things that motivates a lot of wars, especially in the Middle East, but elsewhere too. That there's an unnecessary grief under these conditions, and I don't think they're inevitable at all. I don't think that I think you can have the Jewish people can have a religion, the religious people in the Christian faith, and you don't have to have the military alliance that is, in my thinking, has in many ways been, a manufactured alliance that is necessary. But anyway, it exists. It's there. It's going to exist, and there will be a lot of people who will complain about it. But I do really believe that it is a motivation for a lot of the wars that have been fought in the last, especially even starting way back, after after World War I, because that this whole connection, emphasis of Zionism being so politically oriented, was more or less manufactured at the turn of the last century. So anyway, that's something that will not be dealt with this week in our efforts to try to, get some benefits out of the temporary questionable ceasing of the weaponry today. But there's some practical things that have forced them into it, because the oil, everybody wanted oil, and everybody wanted, and both sides said that we're running out of weapons, and the people who are paying says we'd like to not have to pay so much for our food. So there are some practical motivations that will take care of it, rather than my theoretical or my understanding of how the world works. Chris?
Very good, Dr. Paul. I will finish up with my closing statement, and that has to do with our country's unfortunate beliefs in foreign policy, the government, and a lot of people believe it too, believe it or not. And that's that America must be able to always and at all times impose its will on whoever it wants. This was the Wolfowitz policy, that no one may ever stand up to America. And that has proven to be false. First off, it's impractical. It shows no self-awareness. I can't go into a bar and just start beating up people. Now, the weaker ones I could then brag about, but I'm going to eventually bump up against people that will whip me. Okay, and that is what our country is now facing. We're getting whipped, and it's because we're not bumping up against the little guys anymore. And we should not have this policy at all. We should be a normal nation, as it was prior to the 1900s, that does not look for monsters to destroy outside of this country, because it eventually bankrupts you, and that's exactly what has happened. And Iran has done this on its own, for the most part. It got some, probably satellite assistance from China and Russia and stuff like that, but there is no, Russia and China didn't send troops and send planes and ships and everything, so they did this alone. We cannot impose our will on the entire world, but we are ruled by people that this is their goal. Today, we're still ruled by them. Even though they have to take their lumps now, I've read neocons that we have to be ready to fight 3 wars, 3 fronts at the same time. Russia, Iran, China, all at the same time. I mean, it's comical, but it is ridiculous, but they're the ones in power, and they're using their power for this. And President Trump did this. He went with the neocons. He went with Lindsey Graham instead of Thomas Massey. And it failed like it always does. These neocon wars never work out because they're crazy. And so while, again, we'll celebrate the pause, we have to remember we're still ruled by crazy people, and the media and the influencers are ready to go again if they come up with another crazy idea.
Very good. There are some points going on here in the last week or two that we can cheer on, and we make an effort to point out the direction of some of the policies, and we should. One part, though, that bothers me that might be one of the hardest things, because it looks like it was violated quite quickly, and that was the continuous war of Israel against Lebanon and the annexation of also planted for Gaza. As long as that exists, it's going to be pretty hard to come up and have a real peace conference. So I think the fact that the bombing continued may have stopped by now, but right now it has been said that the bombing has continued with Israel bombing and attacking Lebanon. And there will be a debate on who started what when, but the conflict still ends. The other thing that we've already mentioned that we should pay a lot of attention to is this warning. In a way, when the president came up and said, "Enough is enough. We have a mess. We're running. We who had the most oil exports, even though those statistics were manufactured a little bit, even though we certainly produce enough oil that we could take care of all Americas. But of course, world trade is a much better way of sorting those problems out. So, but for the president to come up and emphasize this, it sounds like. Sometimes, that's what I try to emphasize. Quit doing this. There could be a catastrophe if you keep doing this. And I've often tried to put it together. The foreign policy and the economic policies are very much the same. Fiat money has so much to do with it. Fallacies have a lot to do with it. I also think it's a moral thing when people accept, the authoritarian and very vicious approach by many governments, in their foreign policy. It leads to, these problems. But right now, there's an admission where the people who do a lot of that are saying, we better take a break from this, because it's getting so bad and there could be a catastrophe. And thank goodness we were able to do this and we will maybe avoid this catastrophe. Well, I'm glad they're doing it, but I'm not ready to say, we just avoided the catastrophe, because the catastrophe is very, very big, because it does involve the economy. It does involve the dollar. It involves, fiatism, the whole work. So it's a big deal, but I would think that the fact that the conditions were such that it had motivated the president to do what he did and say there's an economic catastrophe out there, and of course he stopped it and wants the credit for it. So, but he can get some credit, but it might be temporary. But we want to continue in that direction, and hopefully we can encourage them to do so. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today to the Liberty Report. Please come back soon.
Thanks for watching the Ron Paul Liberty Report. Like and subscribe to help spread the message. And until next time, live free.